This video is going to be a film study look that specifically focuses on how the Ravens defensive tackles just rolled through, over, around the Texans offensive line, led by, well, you could say led by Justin Madubuike, but led by Madubuike, Travis Jones, Broderick Washington made plays, Michael Pierce was disruptive. All of them set a tone for the Texans offensive line that they just could not block us. Madubuike, of course, was a force. 2 quarterback hits, 1 tackle for loss. Very nearly had an interception on a glitch blitz late in the game. He was just generally winning against whoever he was matched up against. Baltimore's defense was clearly prepared, not just to be physical and fly around, but they were prepared for the specific threat that the Texans' offense presented in each formation and personnel group, if you ask me. This may have been one of the games where the defense looked the most integrated, from our base defense to our nickel defense. No matter what front we were in, our interior guys were physically handling their matchups. That group that I named combined for 7 tackles, 4 quarterback hits, multiple pressures, all while limiting the Texans to just 14 carries for 38 yards on the night. That's a season-low output for Houston's offense. And Saturday ended up being just the 3rd time that the Texans have been kept out of the end zone completely, the second of which by the Ravens, which I find to be pretty unbelievable. We were able to get pressure on Stroud even though we didn't sack him. Those guys were often impeding his throwing lanes, putting hands on him, or outright hitting him to the ground just as the ball was thrown or just thereafter. Travis Jones has a brilliant pass defense on a triple screen over the middle, I think, in the second quarter. Broderick Washington was really solid against the run. Also had a quarterback hit, chased down a hitch screen to the left side of the field with Madubuike. I thought all these guys played extremely well, showed their unique agility in pursuit at times, and it really bodes well, I think, for dealing with a Kansas City offense that's going to rely more on the run game than the Chiefs have in the past, in my opinion. All right, so we'll get the film started here. And we'll begin with the second possession for the Texans. This is going to be a run by Singletary out of 12 personnel. And it's Madubuike and Washington. We're in our base defensive look. You can see that Malik Harrison's on the field with Jadeveon Clowney, who was very disruptive, if you ask me. And Washington's in on the tackle, but watch what Madubuike does with the left guard who steps to him. I believe I will give you the end zone angle of this one. In case you're not sure, that's Madubuike right there. Madubuike, Washington, and Jones are a handful for any interior guards and centers to deal with. In this case, watch how Madubuike supplants this left guard, because that's the one-on-one. Sheds him aside and tackle for loss, him and Broderick Washington. Madubuike is an enforcer, extremely physical guy who, when he hits people, it's not just a tackle. You can tell that it's Justin Madubuike that was the freight train that just came through. Same play, end zone angle. Madubuike, Washington, Jones, who's not involved in the play here. Washington catches the double team because he's the nose. It makes sense. Madubuike is all over the left guard, pushing him back in the backfield. Jadeveon Clowney, great strike here. Hands kind of in the neck of the left tackle, but he's setting the edge. There's nowhere to go for the running back other than try to cut it back. And those 2 guys are there to finish with a flourish. Second possession again, 3rd and 21 now. Ball just past midfield. And you got Van Noy up top, soloed. And you got the 3-by-1 created here with Clowney, Madubuike, and I believe Travis Jones. Madubuike is going to get the quarterback hit on a deep pass, incomplete for Nico Collins, out of bounds. Madubuike is one of those guys that makes sure he finishes the play. I don't want to say this the wrong way. I'm certainly not saying he's dirty, because I'm a huge fan of his, have been since 2021. And in fact, in 2021 was saying that he should be getting more reps. He was not, because there were so many veterans in front of him. But he finishes plays. He's not scared to finish plays at all. I think he's got a great understanding of what the rule set is like now in terms of when you can make contact with the quarterback. Same play, end zone angle. Again, keep in mind this is a second possession, 3rd and 21. That right there is what you have to deal with when you're dealing with the Ravens defense, specifically Justin Madubuike. He's a guy who's just a constant threat to get to your quarterback. Third possession now, so 3rd and 13. Madubuike and Pierce are on, and this is Pierce actually running Stroud. He's not running him down, but being the secondary contained player since Van Noy has gone inside. Madubuike is trying to work back over here. I think he suspects or senses that Stroud is going to spin back to that side. He does not. Madubuike recognizes it. No one there to get, complete pressure on Stroud, but Pierce is in the window again on an incomplete pass. Great coverage on that play, by the way, from Brandon Stevens all the way across the field against Nico Collins. The Ravens go up 10-3 at one point, and we are now in the second quarter, late second quarter, 5th possession for the Texans. And you're going to get a hitch out here to the left to Xavier Hutchinson. There's 3 guys that make contact with him before Madubuike finishes him off. But the cool thing to notice about this is that one of the guys who makes contact is Travis Jones. So you not only have 2 interior linemen out here, 1 interior lineman out here to finish off, you have 2, and 2 large human beings are athletic enough to get out there. The ball is on the left hash. Madubuike was, in fact, dropping out, so he sees it, and then Jones is redirecting to get out there and actually make contact before Madubuike. We're unable to finish the tackle off with Stevens or Roquan. Incredible hustle can overcome missed tackles at times, particularly into the boundary. Great effort by those guys, and another violent finish from Madubuike. Ravens have gone up 17-10. This is 3rd quarter now. Early 3rd quarter. I think Texans' 2nd possession of the 3rd quarter. Excuse me, their first. It's about 11 minutes left, and it's going to be a completed pass on a 3rd and 7 to Schultz. But again, Madubuike lets you know that he is there. A late stunt between him and Clowney, who's going in, and then Madubuike is now going to loop around. Out of his 13 sacks in the regular season, I'm not sure how many of them was on this concept, but it's at least 3 or 4. He's really good at it. It's not, he's freed up and he's being helped out. I mean, that's a part of it, but it's his burst and ability to take off running now once the pick screen has occurred and the tackle has gone with him. Again, it ends up being a completion to Dalton Schultz, who gave us a little bit of trouble on that right side. I think he beat Darby twice. 1st and 10, very next play. Singletary up the middle. We've got base defensive personnel on the field. And there is just nothing for Singletary inside there. Clowney, I think, communicated something pre-snap to Madubuike. Pierce is standing up against the double team for a moment. Madubuike folds inside with Brent Urban, who I haven't mentioned here. He's a solid contributor, always in the right spot, if you ask me. He just didn't happen to make any tackles in this game that were really of note. Clowney, I think, has communicated something to Madubuike pre-snap. Kind of stunts inside some. Madubuike, just, you can't deal with him in a one-on-one. When you do, he's going to shed you. He's going to throw the guard to the side and then finish the play along with Brent Urban. Only a gain of 1. Again, early 3rd quarter. Ravens have gone up 17-10. We eventually go up 24-10. This is 4th quarter. Broderick Washington redirecting. I love how he's holding outside, meaning he doesn't end up jumping or diving inside as he's being engaged by first the guard and then the center. Look at where Stroud is on the hash. There's some real landmarks, I think, that he's been taught here to not go inside of. In this case, Van Noy dives inside, and you can imagine if Broderick Washington allowed himself to be in this area right now, then there'd be the potential for C.J. Stroud to find his way out off the edge. As it stands, Broderick Washington, perfect position. Great technique, if you ask me, of maintaining outside leverage as a B-gap rusher, and then a nice job to not fall on top of Stroud and go to the side and get a big hit where Stroud ends up facing the sky on an incompleted pass on a 1st and 10. We've gone up 31-10 at this point, so we're talking 4th quarter. Travis Jones is on here at interior D tackle. Now, he played a lot of snaps early in the game, as you saw. Another example of a defensive tackle running out into space. C.J. Stroud is not a non-athlete. He's a guy who can move around difficult to sack. Here you have Washington, Pierce earlier, even though he didn't get a quarterback hit, and now Travis Jones folding outside, in this case to get a quarterback hit on an incompleted pass in the fourth quarter with about 6.5 minutes left. All of these guys are super athletic. You're dealing with Patrick Mahomes this week. How much of a different story is it going to be? Well, you're probably going to get less hits, less quarterback pressures from your D tackles because he's super brilliant at escaping pressure. I do wonder if a guy like Mahomes and how often he doubles back or peels back, if he ever runs himself into a bigger hit, somebody closing in from the backside. I haven't seen a lot of Chiefs film this year for obvious reasons because the Ravens didn't play him. But with our pursuit and how physical our guys are, I do think that's a dynamic that if I was a Chiefs coach, I'd be worried about. 4th and 6 here, 5 minutes left. This is the glitch blitz. So Millette is blitzing off the edge. Madubuike and Jones are now dropping out. So Madubuike here is dropping out. Jones is dropping out. Millette off the edge to get the quarterback pressure. And he'll give the end zone angle just so you can see it. This little in cut by Schultz against Stevens, who really wasn't targeted much this game at all. And Madubuike's in the window, number one. Number two, Stroud takes another shot. This one from the nickel defender. Jones, Madubuike, Smith has walked up to try to, those guys are trying to occupy offensive linemen. Smith's job is just to occupy this right guard, Shaq Mason, and now we've got a 2-on-1 off the edge with Clowney and Millette, and you can see the window there. There isn't one because Justin Madubuike is completely in the middle of it, and I'm surprised he wasn't able to tip that ball up. It almost looks like maybe he was letting it go for someone else to make the interception, but moving backwards a little bit here, this is the final play I'll show to illustrate how active, how disruptive these D tackles were across all 60 minutes. It's a triple screen, if you will. Fake screen to the left, fake screen to the right by Stroud, and then middle screen to Brevin Jordan, who is blocking initially. Kyle Hamilton, great job of staying with this. Of course, Travis Jones does get the deflection. That's why I'm showing it to you. But even if he doesn't, Kyle Hamilton is still in position to be able to make a tackle. There's still going to be a 5, 6, 7, 8 yard gain, no doubt about it, if we get a sure tackle from Kyle Hamilton, which we normally do. So credit to the Texans. They have isolated. They've created some space in the middle of the field. Guys have parted with first the screen to our right, the Texans left, and then our left, the Texans right. End zone angle, you'll see how brilliant of a play this was by Travis Jones, who I feel like in the last 4 or 5 games of the season, regardless of what the stats say, I feel like Travis Jones has shown you the ability that he has and that he can play more snaps. Here's another example of great hustle, awareness, activity level by guys on our defense creating these unsettled situations in the games that we're going to play coming up. AFC Championship game and hopefully the Super Bowl. You need plays like this. You need tipped passes. You need forced fumbles that are random, and I think we forced 2 on kickoffs later in the game, even though the first one didn't count because the guy's knee was down. These defensive tackles are the types of guys who can make game-changing plays. Now, I'm not talking about 3 sacks in a game, even though Justin Madubuike has that kind of talent. I'm talking about tipping passes, forced fumbles on the quarterback, or a quarterback reverses field to get away from one guy, and a pursuing D tackle is there to finish the guy off, dislodge the football. And I'm not rooting for such things, but injure the quarterback in a way that he's got to rethink how he plays the game, number one. And number two, the offensive coordinator's got to reassess what calls they want to run on ensuing plays because of the hit they just took. These guys are physical, nasty, super aggressive, and fast as I don't know what on these screens. Better agility than they're given credit for. Certainly not going to be dropping into coverage consistently, despite the glitch blitz usage where the D tackles drop out. I was super impressed with not just Madubuike, but Travis Jones. Broderick Washington, I thought, was a revelation in this game with his activity level and how physical he was with his hands. Michael Pierce didn't enter the stat column as much, but you can see clearly had an impact as well. Let me know what you guys think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look, mostly end zone angle film, obviously, of how the Ravens defensive tackles really rolled over the Texans, especially in the second half, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Ravens fans can enjoy it as well.